Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 596 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Yes. Today, recording day is Thursday, March 6, 2025. Another great day here at the Beaver Lodge, but warming temperatures as spring is definitely coming in, making its presence felt, even though we're not officially in it yet. But you can feel it's coming. It's nice, the snow, considering the amount we got, and it's nowhere near as much as some other people got. But, it was still between knee and waist deep in our backyard is almost all gone in a matter of like 3 or 4 days. I have no idea where it's all going, but but yeah, so it's melting pretty darn quickly here. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, he, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.com. There you go. I was starting to get it down. Before we do anything else today, Kits and Cups, we'll be going over Canada's response to the tariffs and some interesting developments on the U.S. side. But before we do that, Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Mine pretty good. Actually, really good. Beaver Lodge curling report. Had 2 matches yesterday. My stick curling thing, which I have a new partner this year, who I absolutely love. 88-year-old man named Ray. If you're watching, hey buddy. We're kicking ass this year. We made it up into the A division, and we won yesterday. And currently, we're in 3rd place in the A division. So I don't know. Is that he completes me? So I guess but yeah, we're playing really well together. And then yesterday with Kit Michael, who a lot of people know here from the chat, we played our doubles match and regular delivery, and we had a very, very comprehensive game. Actually, we normally get to play 6 ends in doubles, and the match was over in 4. So we were rocking it yesterday. We were making everything. So yeah. So I'm feeling good. I guess that watching, a whole week of Scotties and then a half a week of a Briar within 3 weeks kind of sharpens your curling skills. I don't know, because ever since Rachel Holman won that Scotties, for the most part, I've had a couple of disastrous games, but I am playing lights out. Yay me. All right, but on to the more serious stuff here, Kits and Cubs. Let's say hello to some kits here. We haven't done that in a while. Look into the Beaver Lodge Magic Mirror, and I see Kit Uncover and Kit Elaine, Kit Saucy. Good morning to all of you, you beautiful people. Kit Janet S. Hey, hello. Good morning. Kit Cat W is with us today. Good. Oh, that's so wonderful. Kit playing with 3D. I hope you had a wonderful birthday. And Kit Elaine as well. I hope you had a wonderful birthday. Kit Linam. Hello, dear one. And hello, Mr. Linda. As well, if you happen to be watching. Oh no, sorry. Only on your birthday. Only on your birthday, if I remember correctly. Kit Wishful is with us. Hey, good morning to you. Thanks for joining, Kit. Mr. Jim. Hello, dear one. Big hugs to you and to Mama Lori. Let's see. Going through. Kit James is with us from Blackballed. And he says, I did not break Paul the other night. Okay.
No, last night. Last night.
Last night. Okay.
The other night.
Yes. Did he break you?
I was up very late. I had too much wine to drink, and I didn't make the show yesterday. Yeah, he broke me.
Okay. But last night he did not. Thank you, James, for breaking him only one night. Kit Toronto Dan is with us. Kit Hugh is with us. Hello, my friends. Big hugs to both of you. I'm so glad that you're here. Kit Miss Adventure is with us. Ooh, I like that. It's Miss Adventure now. And hello, family, as well. And let's see, keep going down here. Who's popping in to get some hellos before Kit Carole? Hello, Kit Christian. Bonjour, mon ami. Kit Jen. Hello, lovely. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. Kid James going, I have so much power. I can see the thunder and lightning. All right. So, whoops. Sorry. I thought I'd put my elbow on the armrest and I kind of slipped. I missed my target. Live bloopers. I do all my own stunts. Okay. Let's see. Well, the tariffs came down.
Yeah.
And we talked about it yesterday. We talked about how Pierre did not meet the moment at all. Like at all. And we talked about how the Prime Minister did. Today we'll have some visuals and some clips to show you. We'll also have the clip, a bit of a clip of Mark Carney where I told you that he and Pierre have two very, very different solutions. Not solutions, things that they want to do with the counter tariff money.
Well, old PP Skippy, Wonder Pigeon wants to give us an income tax, a cut on our income taxes. Like, okay, but if I don't have a job because the tariffs have eliminated the position, how is a tax cut going to help me or anyone?
You have been paying attention, sir.
Well, and his base is finally showing who they are. Let's just say they've ripped the mask off. I got to show you something right now. You got to see this to believe it.
Okay.
And it's like, yeah, this is exactly who they are. Antonio tweets too on the Twitter with a Canadian flag in his name. What does he have to say? I will not support Canadian anything. Nobody supported me in the Freedom Convoy other than real Canadian patriots. So no, F you and your let's buy Canadian bullshit. Real patriots, eh?
So first they tried to choke the border, and now sunny day patriots, I believe, is the way the expression goes.
You even call it that? I mean, I think it's just patriotic if they can get what they want.
Mm-hmm. So, that's less than impressive. The Prime Minister had to come out, and we showed you clips of what he said when he was in Europe last time. And we're showing you this, and we didn't show you clips of the speech that he gave when the tariffs were going to come the first time. We talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was, at the time he gave that speech, people were saying it was the best speech of his whole tenure as Prime Minister. Now, They say that a lot about him because when COVID hit, they said that about him when he came out a couple of times. And so then when he was in Europe, some people were circulating that clip we showed and said that was the best moment of his prime ministership. Then came the fourth.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are saying this is the best speech of his. So just want to put that out there because once again, we like to say, again, look at what we willingly threw away.
Yes.
Okay. We agreed to throw this away. And then when we were going to look at Skippy's response, because juxtaposition reveals a lot, this is what we then look at Skippy as what we might be getting and compare him to what we're throwing away.
Mm-hmm.
And you will see that this man clearly does not meet the moment.
Well,
Now, does
again,
not, cannot. It's either will not or cannot. But at this point, he's had so many times to step up at the plate and swing that bat and deliver a full-throated defense of Canada. That is only
won't do
a
it.
defense of Canada and nothing but a defense of Canada.
Won't do it. He has to be partisan.
He can't or won't. I don't know. But at this point, so many steps up at the plate and swings is that there's, even if there's a difference, it's a difference without a meaningful distinction at this point.
Well, he has not grown in the last 5 years. Most of us have grown emotionally, not necessarily physically. Some have, some haven't, but most of us have grown emotionally, mentally, psychologically in the past 5 years because of the changes that have happened around us. He
How
hasn't
can you
budged an inch.
not?
He hasn't. He still is touting the same solution to a problem, and it's the same one from 5 years ago. We're conservatives. We don't believe in big government programs. We'll give you a tax cut. I don't have a job, asshole. How is that going to help me?
The best social program is a job.
Fine, give me one that pays a living wage.
But I don't believe in costly social programs.
Fucking idiots.
You see how it works? The best social program is a job, but I don't believe in costly social programs.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't care if you have a job.
No, I don't give a shit.
Just give me access to the purse strings.
Look, his days are numbered, and Doug Ford will be the next conservative leader.
Got Kit Saucy here going, Doug Ford waiting behind Pierre Poilievre like the Undertaker.
Yeah, no, he is.
Bernier
Yes.
waiting in the wings for the... But listen, any of you who are hate watching us, yes, I know you think we're haters. Again, we keep on telling you, we're just trying to help.
Yes.
Pierre is not one of you. He's a chameleon. He puts on any mask. He will say anything and be anyone at any time. But at some point, as is the case, was for Scheer and was for O'Toole, he is going to make that pivot to the center. He has already started. He keeps on mentioning Johnny MacDonald in speeches every now and then to throw you a little red meat. But now he is saying a couple of things that are not fully on board with Trump. Why? Because he needs the center-right vote if he wants to win, particularly since his numbers are tanking.
Mm-hmm.
He will pivot to the center and leave you. He is not your guy. In fact, he's nobody's guy. Rarely has there been in Canadian federal politics somebody who was nobody's guy when it comes to the people, as the guy that's leading there now. Even Stephen Harper, for all his faults, kept certain elements of his party in check.
Yes.
Because he knew it wouldn't be helpful. This guy's literally activating those buttons every day. He's not one of you. He's using you. And I know you're going to say, those of you who've all bought in right now, saying I'm a hater, kind of stuff. Look what's going on down south. A lot of people are going to say, we told you.
Yeah, we told you this would happen. You didn't listen. We
We
told
weren't
you
hating
that,
on your guy. We
No.
were warning you.
This is what is going to happen if you don't step up to the plate and do the right thing. And now it's literally our millions of Americans are going, I didn't think they'd eat my face. Yeah, guess what?
He started with the farmers right off the bat by cutting USAID, right? When Pierre goes up to Iqaluit and says we're going to fund that base with foreign aid, that's a direct attack on farmers, because a lot of the money that goes into the food program is the Canadian government buying Canadian products from Canadians and shipping them over there. That's what happened in the first few days. There were farmers in the United States going like, I'm going to lose my farm because I had these USAID contracts.
Yeah, and they're all gone now.
One of the things that we're learning with this trade war right now, right? Like Trump the other day went to the microphone and said, like this, or not the microphone, probably on Truth Social or one of those things, and saying, hey, farmers and all that kind of stuff. Now that we have these tariffs, you're going to get to produce more for inside the United States. Have fun. Guy didn't do his research because the United States produces more than it consumes. 1/3 of its production is for
foreign aid.
Well, not foreign aid, but for external.
Yeah, it's external. Yeah.
They can't produce more to feed internally. They already produce more. They export. So whatever, and that's where most of their money comes from, is the part that they export.
Well,
and now there's going to be 25% tariff on that. And other countries are going to retaliate on other stuff, right? China's already introduced 15% tariffs in retaliation on stuff like pork and chicken and poultry and soy, wheat, agricultural products.
Well, Linda says it here. Telling American farmers they can just grow stuff for Americans and have fun was the height of knowing nothing about how it works.
No.
And you got to remember, where do farmers in the United States of America get the majority, the bulk of their potash?
Here.
Yeah. From Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And how well can you run a farm without potash?
And as was pointed out on a show today I was listening to, where do you think that slaughterhouses in Iowa get most of the pigs they slaughter?
Yeah. It's the height of vanity, stupidity, ignorance, idiocy. To think that, we'll be fine. No, you won't. These trade agreements were put in place for the benefit of each other. And when you destroy them, you destroy people in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Generational family farms are going to disappear.
So
which may be his ultimate goal, so he can get a land grab and a big corporate farm can take it over, and then he'll hand over USAID to corporate farms. Who knows? I don't know.
Trump Golf Course, Iowa. I'm just, Iowa is a red state. The pork is not going to be coming in. It's going to be more expensive, and the potash to grow stuff is going to be. So he's hitting two different sets of farmers. Now, do you think they're not going to be upset? They are starting to cancel. You know how Doug Ford told all his candidates not to show up in debates? The Republican Party is now telling people not to host any town halls anymore.
Yeah.
Because people keep recording them and it keeps on looking bad. Because it's, yes, the progressives and whatnot are showing up, but people who voted Trump are also showing up and go, hey, what the fuck? So you already have that pressure coming from the inside, that the Republicans that are doing his bidding, the ones that need to get reelected, some of them in 2 years, some of them that happen to be in swing districts, and there are special elections going on, and there are places where, Biden won by 16 or something like that, or 13 last time, that they're now winning by 43. that's not all Democratic voters. They're showing up to swing those things. Places where Biden won by +6, that they were winning by +13 now. So people are upset in the United States. China just increased by 15% pretty much everything agricultural that's coming into the United States. We increased a whole bunch of stuff 25%, with more to come in about 3 weeks, plus all the other little measures that we're doing that already have some people screaming, like the people at Jack Daniels.
Oh, they're freaking out. They're, the governor of Kentucky is like, you do not realize the damage this will cause.
Yeah.
And Trump doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit.
Well, he doesn't care about people.
No.
He cares about his image and his ego. And as we stated on the show, Trump can dish it out, but when it comes to pain, he can't take it. He can't take it. And he wants to be loved. And he doesn't want anybody laughing at him. Remember? So he's got a lot of conditions to get by in this world to maintain his illusion of himself. So Trump pulls back often on certain things. And also when Trump gets mad at you and excommunicates you, you stay quiet for a couple of weeks and then come back and flatter him a little bit. And it's like, and everything's forgotten. Like, no matter how many times you piss him off, you can always ingratiate yourself back somehow. Zelensky's doing it right now. The meeting was regrettable. Still willing to talk about. And then Trump's like, well, maybe we'll talk. It's like, what's the weather today in Trump world? So we'll take a look at the prime minister here. And this is, like I said, just a good overall quality response. He veers sometimes back and forth into French and English. Sometimes it's a repeat, but sometimes the prime minister, he just says completely something different. So we'll have to stick with it a little bit, and you'll have to. I'm not sure that this one has. This one might have the translation because it's global and not CPAC. Did I give you CPAC or global, Mr. Grizzly?
For the prime minister?
Yeah.
Global.
Okay, so this one might have the translation then. You know what? Actually, I might send you CPAC because I like my translations better than.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It's
unless
CPAC
you can.
For Carney and for.
Yeah.
Bot boy, but for the prime minister, it was global. So yeah, if you can get me the CPAC, that would be better.
Yeah, I think that's that will be better, because they show it. Well, you have actually when you go to the CPAC site. For those of you who don't know this, if you go to the actual CPAC site, you have the choice of having it all in English or all in French with the translation, the simultaneous interpretation, or in the original broadcast that has no dubbing. So which is really great.
I want to show you a news clip here while you're searching that out. This is ex-con, and he literally was in prison. Alvaro.
Yes, that tried reason.
What he has to say about Canada.
Sabers but I don't want to contribute to that. What I want to say to every world leader who gets up in arms when all we're asking for is fairness and to have them stop killing our people is, please listen to us. Canada could do a lot more. Canada has been taken over, Brett, by Mexican cartels. They bring up these pill presses and printers and the medicines that they fake. You can't tell the difference.
Yeah, it's major problem.
We're being taken over by Mexican cartels.
Okay, number one, Kits and Cubs. This guy is frequently, the last guy in Donald Trump's ear.
Yes.
Right. This guy, this shriveled, dried up, bitter old raisin.
Mm-hmm.
never has anything positive or truthful to say about anything.
Ever.
Anything out of his mouth should just be completely disregarded. He's playing an entirely other game. Yeah. And he's all in. He went to jail for Trump.
Yes, he did.
Because I think he didn't want to testify in the January 6th special committee thing. So he's one of the he would be first in line for Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah.
Right. So he'd actually probably chug a glass before he started pouring everybody else's. He'd be sampling like while he's doing the mix. Just like when you make cake batter when you're a kid or a cookie batter, and you always. Yeah.
A good mom lets you lick the mixing tools on the blender when she's making a cake. A great mom turns it off first. You never heard that one before?
No.
Good mom lets you lick the mixing blades on the blender. She's making a cake, and a great mom turns it off.
It just. Oh my God. Oh God.
Right in, right?
I love that. Oh, that's so funny. Thank you. Okay. So before we start this, one of the things I want to say is that Kit Carroll put something in the chat yesterday because I was trying to explain when Trump was saying, if you guys, basically Trump's thing was like, I'm slapping these tariffs on you, and you just need to lie back and take it, because if you do anything, I'm going to consider that an escalation, and then whatever you do to me, I will do to you. And I was trying to find an image for it, and I wasn't quite hitting it, but Kit Carroll yesterday in the chat put it, and so I'm giving her credit. I'm formulating it a little differently, but the inspiration is Carroll's is first. I get to punch you in the face because I'm America.
Mm-hmm.
I can. And Trump is the ultimate l'état c'est moi, so he's America. So I'm Trump. I can. First, I get to punch you in the face. And you just got to take that. Now, if you have a normal human reaction and you punch me back, that's not reciprocal. I consider that an escalation. And now I reciprocally get to kick you in the balls. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, motherfucker.
Nobody wins in a trade war.
Yeah. But if that's the way we play this, I guess that means that right after we punch you in the face, we also get to throat punch you really quickly before you get your leg up. That's what you're telling us. If when you punch me in the face, I punch you back, and that means you get to kick me in the balls, I better make sure that you can't get that leg up now, can I?
Mm-hmm.
If that's how we're going to play. That's not a negotiation.
It's just going to escalate. And Trump is believes we're going to blink. Look, no trade agreement that he signs is worth the paper it's written on. He's already torn up 2, and including one he signed.
Yes.
How much do they owe us for the softwood lumber? Was it $5 or $6 billion that they will never pay?
Yeah.
And that was in the World Trade Commission, or was it
World Trade Organization? Yeah.
Thank you. They owe you $5 billion. They will never pay it. They're the bully kid at the end of the block, and they're led by the biggest bully.
I think that one they did pay, because I think it was one of the terms of getting that 2006 agreement when Stephen Harper caved. But like I said, then they within a year they just filed a grievance, and then a couple of months later they filed a second one, and then we were back to square one again for another 20 years of litigation. So again, we were at the last final stage of litigation after so many years and decades of doing this. And that's when Stephen Harper said, rather than waiting for the verdict that would have said, you know what, you're right, you won, and it would all be done. He said, let's make a new deal and start the clock all over again. But Conservatives are Canada first, right?
Sure they are. No, they're their bank account first.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
So,
you heard that Mark Carney recently, if he becomes prime minister, he's putting everything into a blind trust. Which Pierre Poilievre hasn't done anything of the sort.
Not surprising. It's probably not the first time he had to as well, right? Probably had to do that as governor of Bank of England, but governor of Bank of Canada too. So again, no skin off his teeth. He's done this before.
Yeah.
Right.
This is what an honorable man does.
Well, he would have been able to have those positions had he not. So I mean, you can't have one without the other. So and that's one of the reasons why a lot of this attack is not working. I remember, like, when Pierre did that big thing on Sunday, not one question from a journalist there was about what he came there to do, about Carney. And then when this one here happens, and we're going to show you what we saw here, no question from a journalist is about anything Carney either. So they don't care about that. They don't care about that. It's not registering. It's not landing. Okay, so let's start with the Prime Minister here. We'll start. I think the first minute or so. I'll give you timestamp as we go there, Mr. Grizzly, on this one.
All right. Start it right from the get-go?
Yes, please.
Okie dokie. Here we go. Why did it do that?
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada. Their closest partner and ally, the closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time. Encore aujourd'hui, on se voit forcé d'imposer des droits de douane de 25% sur 155 milliards de dollars américains de marchandises. 30 milliards de marchandises américaines, excusez-moi. 30 milliards de dollars de façon immédiate et dans 21 jours, 125 milliards de dollars de marchandises de plus. Today, we will also be challenging these illegal actions by filing dispute resolution claims at the World Trade Organization and through the USMCA. But in the meantime, our tariffs will remain in place until the U.S. tariffs are withdrawn, and not a moment sooner. And should these tariffs not cease, we are in active and ongoing discussions with provinces and territories to pursue several non-tariff measures, measures which will demonstrate that there are no winners in a trade war. Now, just like I did a month ago, I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything in between. They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade war that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth. So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today. Now, the legal pretext your government is using to bring in these tariffs is that Canada is apparently unwilling to help in the fight against illegal fentanyl. Well, that is totally false. Let's look at the facts. Our border is already safe and secure. Far less than 1% of fentanyl flows and less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States comes from Canada. But we acted because we know we can always do better. We responded to concerns, including from the President, by implementing an ambitious $1.3 billion border plan. A border plan that includes generational investments in new AI and imaging tools to stop the flow of fentanyl in its tracks, stronger coordination and information sharing with American agencies, along with the deployment of drones, helicopters, and additional personnel to keep our border secure. Now, a month ago, as part of an agreement with the United States that paused the tariffs, we made further commitments. We appointed Kevin Brosseau as our fentanyl czar, a man who dedicated his multi-decade career in law enforcement to combating organized crime networks and drug trafficking. We designated 7 drug cartels, sick, evil groups who cynically profit off the pain and suffering of people on both sides of the border, as the terrorist organizations that they are. And just yesterday, we launched a new joint operations partnership supported by a $200 million investment between Canada's security and law enforcement agencies, a partnership that will enhance the coordination of information and intelligence in order to thwart criminal gangs involved in the illegal fentanyl trade. And critically, our actions are working. As the U.S. Customs and Border Protection just acknowledged, there was a 97% drop in fentanyl seizures from January compared to December, to a near zero low of less than half an ounce seized in January, even with all the further enforcements and actions we've taken at the borders. In sum, we stepped up. We engaged closely and constructively with the President and his administration. We did everything we promised. We stuck to our word. And we did it because we believe in working together to protect our citizens. Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now, to my fellow Canadians, I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm. From expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help. But Canada, make no mistake, no matter how long this lasts, no matter what the cost, the federal government and other orders of government will be there for you. We will defend Canadian jobs. We will take measures to prevent predatory behavior that threatens Canadian companies because of the impacts of this trade war, leaving them open to takeovers. We will relentlessly fight to protect our economy. We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day, because this country is worth fighting for. Les derniers mois ont été stressants et honnêtement épuisants pour nous tous.
Okay. We're going to stop at this section because there's a lot to deal with already. The first section in French I did not translate because it was exactly his opening. So, but this section here that he's saying is going to be something completely different. So I'll have to simultaneously interpret as we're going on, and it's a pretty healthy section. So you'll have to bear with us. But I don't know if you saw it all, Mr. Grizzly, when it happened. If not, you did?
Yes, I did. I watched it. I watched the whole thing.
That's how you do it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Suffice to say, his father would be very proud.
Yeah, he would be. Kit Linda mentioned in the chats there, I saw a lot of, I don't like Trudeau, but comments.
I saw that from a lot of people. Matter of fact, some gentlemen who I know who cannot stand the man. They're like, all he does is virtue signal and this and that. And they all said that was a great speech. Where was that guy for the last 8-9 years? I'm like, he's always been there.
That's what he was. He was that guy. It's just that when you didn't like what he was saying or tired of him, you thought it was virtue signaling. Yeah. Because you could look at this and you could say this is virtue signaling if you wanted.
Yeah, you absolutely could. You absolutely
But you're saying the right things, right? Saying the right things. Face of the threat. He was always this guy. It's just now the moment, and this is his meeting. There's a lot of things that happen in there. Your government has chosen to do this to you.
Yeah.
Talking to Americans. By the way, this speech was carried in its entirety on CNN and Fox, at least, I would assume, and PR and PBS and all that stuff too. I don't remember in my lifetime a speech by a Canadian Prime Minister that was broadcast in full on American news networks. There might have been, but I don't remember any.
Yeah, there could have been. I honestly don't know. I don't know.
None come to mind. So people were paying attention. So when he was talking to the Americans were listening. And there's a lot of Americans that have Trudeau envy.
Oh, yes.
So your government is doing this to you. The entire pretext was a lie. Here's all the stuff that we did do. And as I mentioned on the show, the 1% of fentanyl entering the United States through the Canadian border has been reduced by 97% since we started taking these actions. But apparently that's not good enough because it has to be total eradication. Nobody has to die, it seems, is the goalpost. And as some people made pretty clear yesterday when speaking, I believe, oddly enough, was Danielle Smith. You have to do your part too on your side of the border, right? Especially since there was an announcement of a big cocaine and methamphetamine bust
Well, to
coming
that,
from the United States to Canada.
To that, sir.
I don't want to go too far, but okay.
No, but let's address that because we have, believe it or not, broken clock, right, twice a day.
Danielle Smith.
And here she is. And
at our border appears to be drugs coming up from Canada or from the US into Canada, whether it's cocaine or crystal meth. The issue of migrants seems to be exclusively people coming across from the United States into Canada. A woman in the room said that 2 or 3 times a year she sees families with suitcases. And I asked the room full of about 200 people how many people experience the same, and almost everyone lifted their hands. So there are hundreds of people potentially who are coming across from the United States into Canada, and we are not seeing the same in reverse. So what we are asking for is some recognition that with the additional enforcements we put at the border, our interdiction teams, the sniffer dogs, the vehicle inspection, the drones, and the Black Hawk helicopters, that's a demonstration that we're doing our part. We're wanting the U.S. to match our efforts as well. And let's stamp out the scourge of fentanyl.
so, I mean, you know my thoughts and feelings on Danielle Smith. I have no use for her because I think she's an idiot and is beholden to oil monopoly, or oligopoly, I should say, oil baron oligopoly. She cares not for the average citizen and wants to privatize everything, especially healthcare. But she's right this time. And remember, we on this channel are all about facts. And when somebody gets something right, we're going to applaud them.
Give credit.
We give credit where credit is due. And she was right about that.
But she's even given the face and the tone. It's like, bam, even Trump's getting a taste of the bitch pudding.
Yeah.
For those of you who watch Robot Chicken, you know what I mean.
I don't. But
okay. They had a parody of strawberry shortcake called Bitch Pudding.
Okay.
It was very sassy like this. And when she put people down, they go, bam, y'all get a taste of the bitch pudding. So, yeah, Danielle Smith was giving them a taste of the bitch pudding there. Whoa.
Breaking.
But she's not willing to go all the way, though.
No, of course not. Breaking news, though. This is interesting. This was from yesterday, but I just learned about this now. Lindt chocolates, Lindt, Lindt chocolates, they'll now supply all its chocolate to Canada directly from Europe instead of through its USA factories. This helps avoid extra tariffs, making it cheaper to bring chocolate from Europe than from the US.
God,
so
I feel much better about the 3 Lindt balls I just ate 2 days ago.
But I mean, there you go, right? But how about we support Canadian chocolate companies like Stube, Stubbe, which is an Ottawa company, Peace by Chocolate.
Very good.
Peace
by Chocolate, yeah.
So let's do that. But don't feel guilty if you pick up Lindt, because their product is being provided through Europe, no longer the US.
Yes, and again, right? It's not buy only Canadian. I mean, of course, buy Canadian. It's don't buy American. So buy Canadian first, and if you can't find American, if there's a substitute from somewhere, buy Mexican, right? If you can, buy European, and then if there is no available substitute, then of course, if you can't go without, then of course, then buy American, or if there's a budgetary thing, come on, it's like not expecting you to. Not be able to eat and stuff like that. You do what you can, right? But these things matter, It's like, and it's, remember, it's not only like there's some American stuff that's like French's is an American brand, but we're
Correct.
buying French's instead of Heinz because when Heinz up and left, French's came in and saved the jobs. So even though it's an American company, they actually showed
They
an
cared.
interest in actual Canadians in Canada. And so we
And
support
they
those.
picked up,
We support the Americans who support us. Of
they
course.
picked up a big share of the market too, because there were millions of Canadians who all they ever bought was the H product. I'm not going to say their name; they're not paying us.
Yeah.
And switched to French's. I switched to French's, and I've never looked back. And you know what? I like
Yeah.
it. And it's but now I know the big H company is now making product in Canada again. But sorry,
Too bad.
you burned your bridge.
We remember. Or Costco, right? They didn't jump onto the anti-DEI thing and they pay their
No, they
employees.
did not.
So, go ahead, support Costco, right?
Yes.
Support the Americans who support us.
Well, and
Right.
again, you have to remember Costco pays their employees
Yes.
not just a living wage, but a good wage.
Yes.
They take
That's
care
true.
of their employees. They actually care about people. Go
Yep.
figure.
Right. Okay, so we'll continue with the Prime Minister. We'll have to do some stops regularly enough so I can do simultaneous interpretation for you.
Just a second while I bring that back. Find my tool here. There it is. That's the tool I need to. Here we go.
Mais je crois qu'on peut être rassuré par l'incroyable solidarité dont on a tous été témoins entre nous. Solidarité entre nos entreprises, nos syndicats, notre société civile, les communautés autochtones et tous les Canadiens. L'ensemble de la société canadienne parle d'une seule voix pour qu'on se fasse entendre de nos partenaires américains, pour illustrer que l'imposition de droits de douane, c'est une très mauvaise idée.
Okay.
En même temps, on travaille à l'intérieur.
So I believe we could be assured by the increase in solidarity that we've seen in Canada, solidarity between businesses, between civil society, the Indigenous community, and all Canadians. We are speaking with one voice when it comes to saying that these tariffs are a bad idea.
Interne pour faire tomber les obstacles au commerce entre nos provinces et territoires. On travaille pour rejoindre de nouveaux marchés à travers le monde, pour bâtir une économie toujours plus forte et plus résiliente. Dans les dernières années, j'ai eu plusieurs occasions de discuter avec des leaders du monde entier. Mon message est toujours le même. Le Canada est un partenaire fiable et notre porte est grande ouverte.
Okay. So we're also taking steps to remove barriers between provinces, to find new markets, and to make our economy even stronger and more resilient. Over the course of my mandate, I've talked to many leaders, and my message is always the same. Canada is a reliable partner, and our door is always open.
Dans les dernières semaines, on a aussi redoublé d'efforts pour renforcer nos liens avec le Mexique, qui a lui aussi été frappé par ces tarifs. Ensemble, on va chercher de nouvelles façons de collaborer et de s'appuyer l'un sur l'autre pour faire face à cette menace. Face à l'incertitude, face à l'inquiétude, les Canadiens ont fait preuve de tellement de solidarité. Je vous ai vu partager des listes de produits canadiens pour aider vos proches à appuyer les entreprises d'ici. Je vous ai vu changer vos plans de vacances et opter pour des magnifiques destinations touristiques qu'on a ici chez nous, au Canada. Je vous ai vu redoubler d'efforts pour soutenir nos petites entreprises et nos travailleurs.
So, over the last few weeks, we have redoubled our efforts to strengthen our links with Mexico, who are also facing these threats. We are looking at new ways to collaborate and rely on each other to deal with these threats. Canadians have faced uncertainty and worry, and in the face of that, they have shown so much solidarity. I have seen you share lists of products so that you can buy Canadian. I have seen you change your travel destinations and opt for magnificent Canadian destinations instead. I've seen you redouble your efforts to support small businesses and workers.
Je vous ai vu vous porter à la défense de notre culture et la faire rayonner. Je vous ai vu encourager nos athlètes avec une ferveur sans précédent. Moi qui croyais que je ne pouvais pas être plus fier de notre pays et de mes compatriotes. Mais j'ai encore quelque chose à vous demander.
Okay.
Lâchez pas.
So, I saw you come to the defense of our culture and even making it spread. I saw you encourage our athletes with a fervor without precedent. I am more proud of my compatriots than I ever thought that I could be. But I have one more ask of you. Do not give up.
C'est le moment de redoubler d'efforts, de se tenir debout pour notre pays, de faire tout ce qu'on peut pour choisir le Canada, pour défendre le Canada. On va passer ensemble à travers des moments difficiles. Mais après vous avoir vu aller dans les dernières semaines, j'ai jamais été aussi optimiste quant au futur de notre beau pays, malgré tous les défis qu'on va être en train de vivre ensemble.
Okay. It is the moment. So he says, I have one more ask of you. Do not give up. It is the moment to redouble your efforts to stand up for Canada, to do all we can to choose and defend Canada. We are going to experience some difficult moments, but after having seen you in action, I have never been so optimistic about the future of our beautiful nation.
Canada reste le meilleur pays sur Terre. On a tellement de raisons d'être fiers de notre chez nous, de ces quelques arpents de neige. Mais surtout, je suis fier de notre capacité à nous serrer les coudes quand vient le temps. Les Canadiens ont différentes origines, différentes langues, différentes croyances. Mais quand vient le temps de défendre notre pays, on le fait d'une seule voix.
So Canada remains the best nation on earth. We have so many reasons to be proud. Most of all, I am proud of our ability to stand shoulder to shoulder when the time comes. Despite different languages, origins, and beliefs, when it comes to defending Canada, we do it with one voice.
Main dans la main.
And hand
À
in hand.
travers vents et marées, les Canadiens peuvent toujours compter les uns sur les autres. Now, we've been through tough spots before, but every time we've faced long odds and seemingly insurmountable obstacles, we've not only survived, we've emerged stronger than ever. Because when it comes to defending our great nation, there is no price we all aren't willing to pay. And today is no different. Merci beaucoup, mes amis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Merci beaucoup. We will now take 20 minutes of questions. Nous prendrons
Okay,
20 minutes de
stop
questions.
there
One
before we take
question,
the
one
questions.
follow-up, une question, un suivi. Merci.
Whew. That's how you do it. Again. Notice what was not in the speech. No mention of conservatives.
No. Just talked about
No mention of his opponents.
No.
No mention that we are broken or weak in any way. He punches down on no Canadians at all. There's no promises of big, bold, patriotic tax cut. There's a promise that we will be there for you. What's in there? That's how you'd make a full-throated defense of Canada. Not just say Canada will never be the 51st state and then walk away.
No.
He addresses Donald by his first name because he knows Donald hates that.
He hates it. Yeah, absolutely hates it. So, he punched up by punching down because they're south of us. So punched it. You get the joke.
I get the joke. He said The president did this to you. The president is lying to you about what it is that we are doing.
Mhm.
To Canadians, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough. But I've watched you go. And I thought we could do this before I saw you go. Now I know we can do this. And we'll have your back. That was the assignment. He knocked it out of the park. And then some.
And
because you can tell that he's only got about a week or so left.
Well, he's got no F's left to give, basically. But when you have people on the opposite side of the aisle saying, yeah, that's what you do. That's how you do it. You know, compare and contrast, and we will in a few minutes. But
yeah. Now we'll look at some of the questions. We won't take all of them because I went through some of them yesterday when I was doing the show. But let's start with the initial ones because those are usually the deeper ones.
Just a second.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry with CBC. You're reaching out to the president today. You're speaking directly to him. We heard from U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who says that Donald Trump will be speaking to Canadians. And he also says that he wants to see more progress on fentanyl. So my question to you is, do you have any conversation scheduled with Donald Trump in the coming days? Is that something maybe your successor should do? And do you really believe that this is about fentanyl, or is there something larger at play here?
I have offered to speak to Donald over the past number of days, and I expect to speak with him in the days to come. I'm always there to talk with him about the importance of working together to take on the world at this time. The facts show very clearly that in terms of taking action on fentanyl, we are doing everything that is necessary, and not just for the United States, for ourselves as well, as Canadians are suffering as well from the scourge that is illegal fentanyl. We have laid out extensive plans, actions, cooperations, including as recently as the past days in Washington, and they have always been very well received. And the numbers bear that out. I think in what President Trump said yesterday, that there is nothing Canada or Mexico can do to avoid these tariffs, underlines very clearly what I think a lot of us have suspected for a long time, that these tariffs are not specifically about fentanyl, even though that is the legal justification he must use to actually move forward with these tariffs.
Monsieur Trudeau, en français, à part l'allocution que vous avez eue envers Monsieur Trump, lui avez-vous parlé au cours des derniers jours, des dernières heures?
Non. Je me suis mis à sa disposition pour parler pendant les derniers jours, comme on avait fait il y a 30 jours. J'espère lui parler dans les jours à venir. Je suis toujours ouvert pour parler.
Okay, so the question in French was, have you spoken to him recently? And he says, you know, as always, I remain at his disposal to call, but there had been no call as such at the time of that conference on March 4th. There was a call yesterday, apparently, that lasted 15 minutes. That was supposed to result in more calls yesterday. I'm not sure if they did happen because I heard today that there might be some calls today.
And let's examine the fact that Trump asked the Prime Minister, when's the next election? And he honestly answered, I do not know. And Trump says, oh, he's just a power grab. No, you idiot.
Because all of us here are laughing. It's like, had you asked him this question on December 14th, he would have been able to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
October 20th or 21st, whatever. But then Christopher Freeland did what you did.
So we don't know.
And then before that, last summer he would have been able to tell you, but then Jagmeet Singh ripped up that deal.
Yeah, so it's a question of, does the new Prime Minister, whomever that may be, call an election right away, or do the House reconvene? And do they have a non-confidence vote, which is kind of difficult when you have a new leader? I mean, really, non-confidence? You got a new leader.
Yeah. But the United States has a true fixed election date.
Yes.
We do not.
No, ours is flexible. Like I said, it can be in October of this year.
Yes.
But the pseudo-fixed date would be October of the following year. It's every 5 years.
Yes.
Not every 4.
Yes.
You can call it a year early, but it's every 5.
Yep. But in terms of legislation, if we assume the legislation, it's 4 years. The second on a Tuesday in October, about 4 years since you last won. And that's the predictable one that we sort of kind of agreed to. But tell me you know nothing about Canada without telling me you know nothing about Canada. Westminster parliamentary system. Governments can fall. In the United States, governments don't fall. Presidents allegedly get impeached.
Well, Trump was impeached twice or 3 times.
Yes, but they're yet, despite I think the 4 impeachments is that I don't think anybody has been actually
No one's been
successfully
removed. No.
fully removed yet. So allegedly impeachment exists. But here, yes, governments can fall. So yeah, when you have a parliamentary system, when you have a system of governments where a government can fall, it's kind of hard to tell you when the next election is going to be. Unless you happen to have a majority.
Mm-hmm. We shall continue.
Geez. And even then, hello, Doug Ford, hello, Tim Houston, even having a majority doesn't actually tell you because they just decided they were pulling the plug.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's a question that the answer always is, we don't know. Sometime before, but other than that, we don't know. That's the standard answer.
And sir, you mentioned this off the top. You're seeing the United States seemingly moving closer to Moscow. This is the same day that the United States has announced it's suspending aid for Ukraine. The Kremlin just said that U.S. foreign policy now is in alignment with Russia. So how do you successfully, or your successor, successfully negotiate with a president who seems to regard his friends as his enemies and his enemies as his friends?
In this regards, Canada and Canadians are very clear. We know who our friends are. We know who our opponents are, and there is no question that Vladimir Putin and his attack not just on Ukraine, but on the rules-based international order, on the founding principles of the United Nations, is an opponent of Canada. I think the question that we all need to be watching closely is, what do the American people think? How do Americans feel about jettisoning one's friends and allies in favor of a country that has never wished Americans well and continues to act in ways that harm the global economy and specifically the American economy and American values and principles?
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Valérie Gavage de Radio-Canada. J'aimerais vous entendre sur les programmes d'aide. Au Québec, on parle de 160 000 emplois qui pourraient être perdus. M. Ford l'a dit ce matin, dans 8 à 10 jours, il y aura des mises à pied dans les usines d'auto. Est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose sur la table aujourd'hui qui peut être annoncé pour les Canadiens, ne serait-ce que de limiter le délai pour avoir accès à l'assurance-emploi?
Okay. So the journalist is asking about any aid or assistance programs that the federal government might have in place. You're mentioning that, Ford said that if things go down pretty quickly, there could be layoffs very quickly at auto plants. Mr. Grizzly, if you go to about like 1942, because he says the answer in French first, but then he gives it in English, so that way I won't have to do the simultaneous interpretation on that to the question. So he's basically asking for programs for workers. Can you get any information on them, where they're at now?
In English, please. I think the thing to remember first and foremost, as we reflect on the impacts on Canadian workers and Canadian jobs and businesses, is that, first of all, there will be similar impacts on Americans losing their jobs, American families paying more for basic goods that they rely on at a time where times are tight everywhere. But our focus has to be on getting these tariffs lifted as quickly as possible. What can we do in the coming days is our focus to make sure that these tariffs don't last a second longer than necessary. So we will be looking at, including looking in the coming day at things we can do around adjusting EI to support people through this difficult time. But
Great.
our priority has to be not on figuring out how to manage through these tariffs over the coming days and weeks and months, but on doing everything we can to get them lifted and put an end to this unjustified trade war that hurts American families and Canadian families.
On a l'impression que vous n'avez plus beaucoup de...
Before we get to the next question, I did hear that they were looking at increasing EI payments, the amounts, and I wholeheartedly support that because, as everybody knows, this is I'm unemployed right now, and I'm not seeing a lot of opportunities. Now, I do have there's a company that I'm consulting with, but it's if I make a sale, I get paid. If I don't make a sale, I don't get paid. So,
Right.
Is that work? I put feelers out, send out emails. I'm unemployed. My only income right now is EI and whatever we can pull in through this channel. But increasing the EI payments would go a long way in making my life a little bit better, because one EI check doesn't even cover my rent. I have to borrow money to pay my rent. So, I'm thankful that I have parents who are willing and happy to help me out, but it's very humbling when your, octogenarian father is loaning you money to keep a roof over your head. It's very humbling, and it's a tough pill to swallow, but what choice? What choice do I have, right?
Right.
So, PNC Bio suggesting I go on disability. I don't know if I'm there for that, but I do have a doctor's appointment coming up, and I will be having a conversation with him about how my mental health has been taking a shit kicking recently, and whether I need to increase my medication or switch my medication, or what can I do. Something else I also want to discuss with him is the fact that physically I cannot do the work I once did. Mm-hmm. And I need that looked into further. Like how bad is my back going to get? Am I going to need a wheelchair at some point? These are all legitimate concerns for me. So where do I go from here? I don't know. But if they can increase EI ASAP, that would help me a lot, because there are going to be a lot of jobs disappearing. There's not a lot of people hiring for my qualifications. I get sent jobs daily for things I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have a master's degree. Why are you sending this to me?
Right.
I don't have a degree in computer science. And by the way, the jobs that are asking for you to have a master's degree or a degree in computer science, they're really not paying that well either. They're offering to pay what I was earning at my last position. And I'm like, guys, hello? Have you not realized that the cost of living has gone up exponentially in the last little while? So, anyway,
Indeed.
Enough about me and my woe is me story. I'm not wallowing in self-pity here. I'm talking about my reality. And I am well enough today to do an ASMR later. So just giving you guys a heads up on that, because I got to get caught up on some stuff. But yeah, we shall continue with this next question.
De cartes dans votre jeu, est-ce que de devancer la renégociation de la CEUM fait partie des plans actuellement plus que jamais?
Okay. So basically taking there's a thing that journalists are doing these days that really annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
This journalist said it seems that you don't have a lot of cards. We know where that reference comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you think that speeding up yeah, really, do you think that just fast forwarding to the renegotiation of NAFTA 2 or CUSMA or USMCA, whatever, USMAC or whatever you call them, I guess would be preferential? Yes. Now we had the Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly yesterday. If you saw her on TV saying, it's not true that we're going to go through this psychodrama every 30 days.
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
like
not
let's
happening.
just get to and that you could tell that's definitely like you could tell she's French there, because in French we say that c'est pas vrai qu'on va faire ça. It's not true that we're going to do that. That was her francophone coming out. So yeah, that's what this question is about. The other instance of that was recently, after Trump said something like, "Without us, the United States is not a viable country," and there was a journalist, I believe it was Ashley Berg from the
Said
CBC.
Canada is not a viable country without the
Well,
United
ask the question: is Canada a viable country? It's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't validate the pretext by putting it in a question and then asking someone to respond to it. Why would you ask the Prime Minister of Canada, is Canada viable? What do you expect? Well, I mean, if the Prime Minister was Pierre Poilievre, probably not. But would you expect the Prime Minister to say?
Mhm.
It's Canada viable. Like, you're just wasting a damn question. Come on, man. So, let's get his answer, because people are interested in this for sure.
Actuellement, dans les conversations avec le président, c'est pas très clair ce qu'il veut exactement. Ou peut-être la seule clarté, c'est ce qu'il a dit à multiples reprises, que son but, c'est de faire écrouler l'économie canadienne pour ensuite pouvoir parler d'annexation.
Okay. So, I wanted to make sure, because the first bit I think is different, but the rest of the answer is then the same. He's saying that the first bit was, at this moment, it's not really clear what it is that he wants. But, and then we'll go to about 2303, Mr. Grizzly, because then he repeats in English what he was saying in French there.
Remember, what was that? Cosmet, that's right. I think in terms of what he wants, and I heard he talked about banking again this morning in a tweet, which doesn't make any sense, because American banks, there's about 16 American banks currently active in Canada, holding about $113 billion worth of assets in this country. So the American banks are alive and well and prospering in Canada.
I think what Trump, well, again, he's an idiot and he doesn't really understand things, but what he fails to understand is that American banks are subject to Canadian rules if they want to operate in this country.
Mm-hmm.
You have to abide by the rules of the nation, and if you don't, we give you the boot. It's as simple as that. What Trump wants to do is come in and do everything like he does in the United States, and no, that's not happening. And there's not a bank in the United States that will give Trump a red cent anyway. So I think it's ironic that he's pushing U.S. banks in Canada when none of them would go near him. None of them. Nor have they for years. He's been bankrupt, what, 6 times?
Something like that, yeah.
But he always says, I've never been bankrupt. True, technically, he personally has never declared bankruptcy. But he's bankrupted his company 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, he's got you on a technicality. He personally has never declared personal bankruptcy. But corporate bankruptcy, many times. We'll continue.
Run America like a business.
Yeah, run it right into the ground.
It's an example of not really being able to see what it is that he wants, because even the excuse that he's giving for these Paris tariffs today of fentanyl is completely bogus, completely unjustified, completely false. So we actually have to fold back on the one thing he has said repeatedly, that what he wants is to see a total collapse of the Canadian economy, because that'll make it easier to annex us, is the second half of his thought. Now, first of all, that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state. But yeah, he can do damage to the Canadian economy, and he's started this morning. But he is rapidly going to find out, as American families are going to find out, that's going to hurt people on both sides of the border. Americans will lose jobs. Americans will be paying more for groceries, for gas, for cars, for homes, because we have always done best when we work together. So we are, of course, open to starting negotiations on the customer review, but let us not fool ourselves about what he seems to be wanting. And I will admit, I have been holding out hope that these tariffs were just a clever negotiating ploy that would have the impact that they're having now without even bringing them in over the past weeks, as we've seen order books dry up for Canadian companies from American customers, as we've seen expansion plans in Canada put on hold, as we've seen people choosing to invest in the United States over the past weeks because of the threat of tariffs. But now that he's moved forward with tariffs, we're going to see the real impact of a trade war between our two countries. And that impact will be to hurt American families.
Prime Minister Tonda McCharles with the Toronto Star. I hope you can be as specific.
So let's go to fast forward to 3613, because the rest are pretty much boilerplate questions and answers. And interesting question.
You mentioned the markets earlier. Someone who knows a thing about them, Warren Buffett, came out and said that these tariffs could be viewed as an act of war. Does the Canadian government believe these tariffs from Donald Trump is an act of war from the U.S.?
Canadians are not angry at the American people for this. We don't have anything against Americans. Americans are our neighbors, our friends, our partners. We do things together. We've done things together for decades and generations. This is a policy decision by the American government designed to go after the Canadian economy. This is a trade war, yes. But Canadians, Canadians are hurt. Canadians are angry. We're going to choose to not go on vacation in Florida or Old Orchard Beach or wherever. We're going to choose to try to buy Canadian products and forego bourbon and other classic American products. And yeah, we're probably going to keep booing the American anthem. But let me tell Americans, we're not booing you. We're not booing your teams. We're not booing your players. We're booing a policy that is designed to hurt us. And we're insulted. And we're angry. But we're Canadian, which means we're going to stand up for each other. We're going to fight. And we're going to win.
There are probably a lot of folks watching on TV today who've been laid off or they were told not to come into work today because of these tariffs. Can you explain to them why you've not announced any relief measures today to help those folks out?
As I've said, our entire focus has been on preventing these tariffs from coming in, if there was at all a way, and it now looks like there was never a way we were going to be able to avoid these tariffs that the President was determined to do. And our focus now is going to be on making sure that they get lifted and that there is an end to this trade war as quickly as possible. But over the past month, we have been working on measures that if these tariffs last longer than a few hours or a few days, we be able to help Canadian citizens, Canadian workers, Canadian companies make it through this time. But let's also be clear, this is going to be tough. The American trade war is going to hurt the Canadian economy and is going to hurt all of us. What our government needs to make sure we're doing is try to make sure that nobody goes hungry and that everyone carries their share of this. And that's a hard thing to do, But that's where we're leaning in, both as a federal government and with provinces and territories on responses to be there for Canadians.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Merci.
That concludes today's press conference.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. No punches. Bold.
No, absolutely not.
Bogus. Outright bogus. Not true. Don't think that there was ever a way. He's spilling a lot of tea there.
Oh, yeah.
And notice that the tone is measured. Notice that his face never contorts. Notice that there's no acidic tone. There's some firmness at times. There's a little bit of sass. Listen, Donald. There's no undercurrent of contempt for any segment of Canadian society. It is a firm, full-throated defense of Canada. It is a firm. It's like, you can do this. And yeah, it's going to hurt. But I got my people on my left and right flanks. And I know they got my back, and I know how we fight. So bring it. There's nothing in there that indicates any weakness, a path where they can hit like this, that we're going to. But maybe if you did this, we won't. Like this, and additional talk, Doug Ford, and then afterwards, because Doug Ford and Trudeau are doing the good cop, bad cop thing here. It's like, you don't understand, right? It's like, well, maybe we can negotiate a little something. It's like, no half pregnant. We're not going to agree to partial tariffs. We're like this. We want them all gone, and nothing else.
I've seen some Americans hitting back with, why is there a tariff on dairy at 240%? And what about all these other tariffs? And it's like, oh, you don't understand.
Because we don't subsidize. We do supply management because we don't subsidize.
And trying to explain that to some folks, because they just see numbers and they don't understand the meaning behind those numbers or why they exist.
Yeah. It's just like, a different system. That's all it is. It's just a different system.
The tariff is there to match because we don't subsidize. Like how oh.
I know.
It's like trying to explain the quadratic functions of trigonometry to a 3-year-old. It's not a radical function.
Take a quick look at the Pillsbury boy. Or the Pierresbury boy. We're not going to show you all of it.
It's 25 minutes.
It's not worth watching all of it. I want to start at the beginning. However, he starts in French, as he always does. Pierre, fortunately for us, does his whole section in French and then does his whole section in English. And I'm not going to translate what he says. I just want you to listen to the delivery, how he starts, because he doesn't get off to the great start. You don't have to understand what he's saying to know that he's not getting off to a great start. And then we'll go to the English.
Strange. I don't know why I did that. All right, here we go.
À minuit 1, le président Trump a trahi le meilleur ami des États-Unis. Mon message au président est le suivant. On va défendre les Canadiens et notre économie. On va mettre le Canada d'abord. Oui, notre économie va souffrir, mais la vôtre aussi. Les travailleurs en paient déjà le prix pour cette décision ridicule. Okay. Les prix de l'essence aux États-Unis sont plus élevés déjà pour vos consommateurs, Monsieur le Président.
So, again, difference in tones right off, right? You can just hear it in the voice. Again, notes, looking down. Prime Minister didn't need any.
To be fair, and it is important that we are fair because we believe in this. To be fair, the Prime Minister didn't look down because he didn't have to, because he had two teleprompters to the left and right of him. You don't see them in the frame, but I've seen other images from people further back that showed he had a teleprompter on either side. The plastic ones that sit up at an angle, he did have those. So we got to be fair about this. Yes, he didn't look down at notes because he didn't have to. They were right there in front.
Conservatives have more money than God.
I know, and they couldn't
No reason
couldn't spring for it, which is
right. So, acerbic tone, looking down, coming in, looking tired, halting voice, and as you heard at the end, starts tripping over his words because he can't get them out right. And that happens for a while. None of this. If you're someone at the other end, let's just call it what it is, who's a sadist, and sees this versus what you saw with Trudeau, which fight do you want? All right. Now, let's go to, I believe it is, let's just see that, 11:05 about.
President Trump stabbed America's best friend in the back. My message to the President is this: Canada will fight back. We will defend our people and our economy, and we will put Canada first. There's no doubt that our economy will suffer, but so will yours, President Trump. In fact, you're already paying the price, with trillions of dollars erased in stock market value over the last month of these threats. Already, Americans are paying higher gas prices, as at midnight, a new American gas tax kicked in on U.S. working-class taxpayers and motorists. Your workers will soon start losing jobs they had upgrading Canadian raw materials, which, by the way, you were getting at an incredible and ridiculous bargain. And your businesses will be selling fewer products to your closest neighbor. And that's only the beginning. While Canadians are slow to anger,
he's having more trouble getting the words out in English than he did in French. And he spoke for 12-something minutes in French. So this is with 13 minutes of him warming up. This is the best he can do.
He can't meet the moment. He never could.
Does this convey strength?
No.
Does this sound... I'm going to talk like this and be short like this and put my face like this. This is my serious face. Danger. Like the Kit Kat commercial. My serious face and my serious voice. Another. I've seen high school theater. That's better.
He doesn't
I'm not
have
convinced.
Minerals. Doesn't have the minerals, mate.
Keep going.
and quick to forgive, once provoked, we fight back. And we will fight back. Now, I'd like to speak to the millions of Canadians who are anxious today after learning that President Trump has attacked our economy, to the auto workers, the forestry workers, the steel and aluminum workers, the mining and energy workers, the truckers, the farmers, to all of you who get out of bed before the sun rises and do the labor of the nation. You are afraid right now, and I understand. I want you to know that I will fight for you. I will fight for your job. I will fight for your family.
No, you fucking won't.
I will fight for your job. I will fight for your family.
No, he
I am
won't.
so convincing. Hear my passion.
He has voted against everything that would help workers across this country his entire career.
Except the anti-scab legislation, which
For
surprised
one
everyone.
thing, I'm still shocked about that.
But again, we give him credit.
Gotta give him credit, yeah. No, he voted for the
Again,
right thing.
like we say, we give him credit. Except the anti-scab, nobody saw it coming. Nobody understands why he did it, but he did.
I mean, he's voted against dental care. He's voted against $10 a day daycare, school lunch program for children. He's voted against pharmacare. And as a matter of fact, when we showed a clip where he was being interviewed by a city TV news person who asked him, said, why would you cancel dental care? And he's like, millions of Canadians. She goes, and where'd you get that information from? And she's like, from the government of Canada. Oh, you got it from the government. Well, you can't trust them. But you want to be the government. So you're telling us you can't be trusted. There's no trust in that man. You cannot be trusted. This man has not grown in the last 5 years. He's not grown since high school. He's the same smarmy, smug, narcissist know-it-all that he was in high school. I know this because I have friends who went to high school with him.
He never left the university debate club.
High school debate club.
Oh, no, I was a member of the high school debate club.
He never left it.
We actually had rules when we debated.
Well, you remember what Wayne Easter said about him. There's no debating with this man because he'll flap his wings, knock the pieces off the chessboard, shit all over the place, and then act like he's strutting around and acting like he's won something.
Well, I mean, he did it the other day, right? I'm so glad everybody is coming around to my ideas.
You mean the ideas that were already put forth before you even stepped? Oh, Jesus.
Girl, please. Mr. Grizzly's doing the okay. That's
I really
not broken yet, but close to broken.
I really do want to see a healthy, progressive, conservative party in this country again. I would like to see a progressive, conservative leader. I have no problems with a progressive, conservative prime minister, as long as they're progressive. So they look at the good programs we have and say, those are good programs. We should prop them up a little bit.
And maybe actually conservative.
Progressive being the key term, but actually conservative, not reformers, because that's all he is.
Jeez.
That guy right there? No, there, right there. That guy right there? Reform Party stalwart. That's it. We'll continue for a couple more minutes. I have to break it up because I can only take so much of this guy.
I hear you. He gets on my nerves too.
I will fight for your chance at owning and paying off a home, and I will fight.
Really?
No.
How are you going to do that? You voted against the housing program.
Yes, and you're threatening municipalities with taking funding away if they don't do it your way. So,
and you told your members of parliament, members of your caucus, not to accept funds from the housing program for their constituencies or request it. This man is not going to help anybody but himself and his puppet masters. That's key. He won't be in that position much longer. He's on his way out. And Doug Ford is ready to take up that mantle. I guarantee it. You just watch and see.
For your retirement. And I will fight to put Canada first. Before these tariffs came in this morning, you must have been asking yourself, how could things get any worse? Before these tariffs, you were already suffering. You wondered how you'd pay the rent, or eventually dream of buying a home after housing costs had doubled over the last decade, rising faster than in any other G7 country. You've downgraded your diet.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
all the ways that we're broken and ugly and worthless and that nobody will love us. I thought this was about standing up to Trump.
No. He's going to tell us how broken and damaged and
So how many minutes has he been speaking? What's the timestamp now?
13:09.
So he's been talking in English for what? 2 minutes?
Barely.
Before he starts launching into the...
We're broken. And only I can fix it.
You're ugly. No one will love you. I'm the only one who will have you.
It's abusive.
It's abuser talk.
Yes, it is.
It's abuser talk.
Well, here's from Wee's Reality. What is it, Wes? Wes Reality or Wee's Reality? I don't know how you like to go by it, but housing in Vancouver went up 400% under Harper. So a conservative is going to do something to help get you in a home? No, they're not. He wants more tent cities so he can shoot a video in front of them without their permission and use them as a political prop because he can punch down. Let's continue.
Eventually dream of buying a home after housing costs had doubled over the last decade, rising faster than in any other G7 country. You've downgraded your diet as food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the United States over the last 5 years.
That's called corporate greed. We already know they've had record profits each quarter because they're greedy bastards.
You might be one of the 2 million people, a record-breaking number, lined up at food banks, a number that has more than doubled before these tariffs applied. You've likely noticed that your paycheck is not keeping up with the record inflation, as Canada's GDP has grown less and lower than any other G7 country over the last decade.
That is fundamentally a lie. That is a lie.
And then we can stop with the rest of it, because the rest of it, as I described yesterday, is then he comes to a solution. We need to, make sure that the tariffs apply on things, we can't make ourselves first, and then things we can't buy elsewhere first, and then, which everybody's already proposed. And then, we've got to take all this money that we're going to get from the counter tariffs, and we got to give everybody a big tax cut on that. That's on top of my big, bold, patriotic tax cut that I presented last time. And then, hey, we are going to have a carbon tax cut, and we're going to take off the capital gains tax. So all the things that will already be done by the time I would ever have a chance to be prime minister, even if I was, and then tax cut and a tax cut followed by a tax cut and another tax cut. Yay!
Well, and here's from Playing with 3D. Same people raising our food prices are Con supporters. Imagine that. And who does Jenny Byrne, who pulls all the strings on Parliament Hill for the Conservative Party, who's her company a lobbyist for again? Oh, that's right. The largest grocer in the country. The largest grocer in the country. Their lobbyist works for Pierre Poilievre. Well, actually, she basically operates him. So tell me again how you're going to lower grocery prices. I know farmers aren't reaping record profits. Farmers who provide grocery stores with all kinds of product, be it agriculture or livestock or aquaculture from Atlantic Canada and Pacific Canada. They're not getting filthy rich over this price gouging effect. Hell, talk to a farmer and ask them how they're doing right now.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Grizzly, if we'll go to Mr. Carney to 1 minute to 22. So Pierre Poilievre says we got to take these counter tariffs. We need to give everyone a generalized tax cut because everybody's going to be affected in some way by tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, remember, as we mentioned yesterday, he's also promising to boost our military spending and balance the budget as he's doing this. Now, look, and my first reaction was, no, you don't do that. You take the money from the counter tariffs and you use it to keep the businesses and the industries whole and the people working in them whole. If you want to offer people a tax cut, that has to come from a separate envelope. Well, here's a central banker of Canada and the UK at one point, saying the same thing.
That, in my view, and my government would do this if I'm elected as Prime Minister, to take the proceeds from our counter tariffs and ensure that they go directly to those workers who are most affected by the American tariffs, the unjustified American tariffs. At the same time, what we will do is we will cut taxes for the Canadian middle class. But that is a separate measure, which is to improve the situation of all Canadians with respect to addressing the crisis of affordability.
All right. That's it. That's the only clip that you need to see. He wants to take the money that we do for reciprocal tariffs and give it to the industries and the people that will be most affected by the tariffs. Pierre wants to raise the money on the backs of those people and promise all of you a tax cut so he can get you a vote. You know that scene from Shrek?
Mm-hmm.
Some of you will die, but that is a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Lord Farquaad. Which,
That's
for
what
those
Pierre.
of you who never really got, and I didn't until you explained it to me, and I went, oh my God, you're right. Farquaad. Change a couple of letters. I need the Jeopardy think music right now. Change a couple of letters in there. From F-A-R-K to F-U-C-K. Take out the Q, leave the Wad. Farquaad. Yeah. So there you go.
So, kids and cubs, compare and contrast, juxtaposition. Prime Minister Pierre Carney. Rank them. Rank them. There's an expression in French, le choix s'impose. The choice imposes itself. It's so glaringly obvious that one of these three is unable to meet the moment, and one of these three does not have your best interests at heart. Because one of these three literally proposed raising money off the back that people are suffering and to distribute it to people who might be suffering less. Or some who might not be suffering at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's his solution. And another person is saying, no, the money that we collect on behalf of certain people, we distribute to those certain people. And if there's more money to distribute, we take that from somewhere else. One is already telegraphing how it is he is going to screw you if you are paying attention. And one is being very, very, very clear about from which pot of money which things will come. And to whom that money will go specifically. I don't know about you, but I like clarity. I'm a big fan of clarity. Hey, we even passed an act. Clarity is good. Carney is being very clear. The Prime Minister is being very clear. And as we've noted before, Carney is being very clear what his role is at this time and what his role is not at this time, where the boundaries are for him to act at this time because he is only candidate to Carney, and where, so as to not usurp in any way the national response. Not so for the leader of the opposition, who once again, while apparently talking to us, hoping, oh, by the way, this one also wasn't carried live. They decided not to cut to I don't know, man. But if he was hoping that anyone in the States was watching, I hope he knows that he sent everyone the message that he's the weakest of the three, I guess. And one of them, the Prime Minister, is no longer an option. So what we have and threw away, and the two of the choices that we can get, the first of which was presenting himself to us as inevitable. And the guy, especially if it came to do with money and economics, the guy allegedly who claims to know everything about money and economics, Pierre, doesn't appear to even know that you take counter tariff money and deliver it to those most affected and the industries, so that there's still an industry once the tariff war is over. You support the industry. You don't just take the money, spend it on other things, and let the industry die. As we said, he's not one of you. Those of you who are voting for him, those of you who like him, those of you who think that he's the worker guy, that he's on your side, he's not with you. He's telling you to your face how it is he's going to screw you. He's not telling you, he's not doing it with clarity, though.
No, of course not. He is.
He's presenting it as everybody's got to get a tax pot, a chicken in every pot. Ain't that great?
Once again,
but those of you who will lose your jobs will be funding that tax cut for everyone.
Those of you who are unemployed will get a tax cut that will not benefit you in any way, shape, or form because you don't have an income.
I guess, and if the businesses you work for go under when this whole thing is over, then where do you go for your work?
Yeah.
That's what he's setting you up for. And again, don't believe us at your own peril.
Well,
but we are not haters. We're trying to warn you. And he's telling you. He's just couching it in a whole bunch of other things and doing the, hey, you get a tax cut, isn't that great? Yeah, but he's not telling you what the cost of it is. It's a bait and switch. It's a bait and switch. We're here to help. We do not want to see you suffer. We care about our fellow Canadians, even those who do not believe the same things we do. This guy is setting you up.
Oh, yes.
He's just told you you're his mark. In these times where we might have to do things a little differently because everything around us is a little differently, trust the person who actually tells you very clearly how he's going to do it, from what envelope it's going to come from, and to where it is going to go. That's something that you can hold someone to if they don't respect it. This is the time to ask for details, to make sure that you read the fine print 2 or 3 times before you sign. Because we only get one chance at this. We got to get the assignment right. Right? The challenge is stand up for Canada. All right. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
I believe we do. I have a couple of tidbits to show you.
Cool.
First one, this is just before we wrap. I want to show, this isn't an Easter egg. I wanted to show you this. This is a poll that took place February 2023, November 2024, January 2025, and March 2025. And these numbers are, well, they are what they are. From an overall point of view, how do you think the Canadian government should approach the U.S.? In February of 2023, 6% of the population saw it as a potential threat to Canadian interests. 19% said cautiously, 25% said friendly terms, and 48% as a valued partner and ally. In February 2023. In November of 2024, 13% as a potential threat to Canadians. 23% cautiously, 17% on friendly terms, and 42% as a valued partner and ally. January 2025, 3% as an enemy of Canada, 24% as a potential threat to Canadian interest, 27% cautiously, 14% on friendly terms, and 28% as a valued partner and ally, and 3% said don't know, can't say. Contrast that to March of 2025. 13% of the population see the United States of America as an enemy of Canada. 38% see it as a potential threat to Canadian interest. 24% said we should approach them cautiously. 8% said on friendly terms, and 15% said as a valued partner and ally. From January to March, the numbers are completely flip-flopped. That's pretty disturbing.
Wow. Jeez.
And then, of course, Michael DeAdder, being one of the greatest political cartoonists of all time, had this one from the Hill Times, which on a cold winter's day, Donald Trump is licking a pole that says tariffs and his tongue is stuck to it. And two fellows are walking by, looking over at him, just saying, not again.
Oh, my God.
The genius of Michael DeAdder.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That is so good. That is so good.
Well, and here's one more thing here from Isaac Callan. I don't know who Isaac Callan is, but I think he is online digital broadcast journalist for Global News Toronto. Okay. Focusing on Ontario politics. He released this, and I'll show you a response to it in a second. This is interesting. He says this is new from Doug Ford. Doug Ford is asking people to stop texting him at night on the one device he uses for government work. Constituency matters and personal calls. Let me start that over again. Doug Ford is asking people to stop texting him at night on the one device he uses for government work, constituency matters, and personal calls because the buzzing keeps him awake. He says he can't put it on silent in case there's an emergency. Okay, that's, yeah. Dropping Doug Ford's business card here for no reason whatsoever. Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Whitney Block, 6th floor, 99 Wellesley Street, West, Toronto, Ontario, M7A1W3, Canada. Telephone 416-325-2228. Fax 416-325-3645. premier@ontario.ca. And then let's scroll down. Going to send him so many faxes.
Oh my God.
I thought that was worthy of mention.
Kids and Cubs, you should absolutely not phone the premier in the middle of the night or send faxes. That would be very naughty.
We're not telling anybody to do that. We're suggesting that if you do that, that would be a terrible thing and would create turmoil and issues for him. But we're not suggesting you do that. We're suggesting you don't call him in the middle of the night.
That would be very, very naughty.
Yeah, we're suggesting you don't do that. No. If you do that, it might disturb him. So we're telling you not to do that, okay?
Yes, and we want our premier to have fresh, rested brain to deal with the Trump tariffs. That would be so naughty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, man. Whoa, we're stirring some pots today. All right, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode. Oh, by the way, sorry, before we do that, I almost forgot the whole punchline for all of this whole thing. As we remember, as I mentioned, Trump can't stand pain. Right? We talked about a little couple of things, right? The Iowa farmers with pork and potash. They're a little upset. China's upset, definitely. They're imposing, like as I mentioned, 15% on imports of key U.S. farm products, including chicken, cotton, pork, wheat, soy, and beef, beginning March 10th. It also hit a U.S. biotech firm with restrictions. China's targeting mainly American farmers and saying that it will stay in the fight till the bitter end. Quote, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta's GDP now estimate for the first quarter has been revised downwards to negative 2.8%. There has not been a quarter that bad in the United States since the last time Trump was president, and before that, not since the 2008 Great Recession. Warren Buffett, who the Prime Minister was asked about, also known as the Oracle of Omaha, quote, tariffs, well, we've had a lot of experience with them. They're an act of war to some degree. He says that people making big economic decisions should always ask what happens next. Then he mentioned how consumers pay the literal price for tariffs. Quote, the tooth fairy doesn't pay for them. It's Warren Buffett. Mexico will announce its countermeasures this weekend. In Newfoundland and Labrador, they're starting to look at everywhere they source anything medical. Socialized medicine. Do we need those American catheters, or could we get Swiss ones instead? There's a lot of money there, and those are not counter tariffs. When the Prime Minister said we're looking at non-counter tariff measures, that would be one. In a country that has socialized medicine, sourcing as much of your medical equipment and supplies outside of the United States certainly would make a lot of people take a notice. Except we've got the people from Jack Daniels who are not happy at all. So they're probably going to. So what's happening now is, and then of course the stock markets went haywire. So the president yesterday announced that, well, it's going to apply to everything except auto manufacturing. That one gets another 30 days. Does anybody feel like we're on a month-to-month lease with this guy? Yeah. So there's going to be another 30 days for this one to give people more time. But the thing is that if the United States wants to move all production, onshore all production into the United States, they'll have to build like 5 or 6 plants, several billions of dollars, and that'll take about 10 years to build. So that's not a quick change that's going to happen now. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs in the meantime until that switch happens. So, and of course that could be felt very quickly. So he's already caved on auto manufacturers. And yesterday, the stock market, at least in Canada, closed slightly higher after he made that announcement, that because it was going down again yesterday. So now I'm sure the people in agriculture are going to start talking to him. So I'm expecting that there'll be some exceptions for agriculture sometime soon. And then other people and other ones will start. And then maybe bit by bit, there'll be more and more and more of these extensions, just like we're firing everybody. It's like, oh, wait a minute, we need those parks workers in the summer because it turns out Americans really, really, really like their national parks. Or, oh, gee, those people with the nuclear codes, yeah, maybe we should hire them back. Yeah,
or that would be a good idea.
Or, oh, yeah, maybe we could use these particular scientists. So he's doing the same thing here. It's slap the tariffs on everything, and then have everybody come and go, wow, you can't have, this is going to hurt us. Okay, we'll make an exception for that, an exception to that. So if divide and conquer works both ways, if he wants to divide and conquer us as people or provinces or as nations, we can divide Americans based on sector.
So
by all of us coordinating.
Let's address something here. Was I being petty showing Doug Ford's personal contact information? No, it's publicly available knowledge, but it's publicly available.
Yes.
He has his government phone that he gives the number out to people and tells them to call it. Period. Somebody else said, would you have done that to Trudeau? And the answer to that is, if Trudeau did to the Canadian people what Doug Ford has done to Ontario, damn right I would. I would. Yes, I would.
If he had made his number public.
If he had made his number public.
Otherwise, we would just give his office number.
We would just give his office number, correct. If he did to the Canadian people what Doug Ford has done to Ontario, yes, I would. And I wouldn't hesitate. If it was public knowledge, if it was publicly available, I can share that with whomever I want because it's public. So I need people to understand that. Am I being petty? I said, don't call him in the middle of the night. Doug invited this on himself by coming out publicly and saying, please don't do this. Bro.
Yes. But call him.
Call him.
Do call him. Do use the number.
Yes.
Use the number responsibly.
Use it responsibly.
But do use the number. Absolutely. Do use the number. All right. And the thing that may have prompted that yesterday, it seems that somebody did some math and that tariffs could mean as much as $35,000 US added to the cost of a heavy truck bringing in supplies. 70% of the goods transported across the border between Canada and the US annually move by truck, according to Stephen Laskowski of the Canadian Trucking Alliance. The market was already down, the worst it's been over the past 40 years. The Canadian Trucking Alliance says that carriers have already started canceling contract orders for new equipment, and there's asking the federal government to remove excise tax on diesel fuel, also asking for an end to the carbon tax, which is estimated to save a truck between $15,000 and $20,000 per year. Now, as well as those trucks, the United States really loves pickup trucks.
Yeah, the Ford F-150 is the most sold vehicle in North America, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that somebody did the math on that as well, and that the cost of pickup trucks could go up close to $10,000.
I think if I saw something the other day, somebody said $20,000, an $80,000 Dodge Ram was now $100,000. I saw a news clip on an American news channel about that just the other day.
Lumber, a sheet of plywood, they've already jumped from $60 a sheet to $90 a sheet. Now, not all of that is tariffs. There's some corporate greed later on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that, however, and I'm sure that a lot of pickup drivers are vote Republican. And I'm sure a lot of minivan and SUV drivers in red district suburban neighborhoods also voted Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they're not very keen on having to pay $10,000 to $20,000 more for a vehicle.
I guarantee you they're not. And car companies, manufacturers, along with the dealerships, are now bracing for the blowback. Was it when we had Rosalind on the other day? She said a friend of hers returned his American-made car to buy a Japanese-made car. I'm like, just get yourself a Honda Civic. They're made in Ontario. So you're doing even better. It's a Japanese brand made in Canada.
Indeed.
This is really, the blowback is huge.
Yep, I just found the actual thing. Sorry, it wasn't as much as we thought. Analysts at Wolf Research Project projected the tariffs would add $3,000 on the average cost of a vehicle, $7,000 on models imported from Canada or Mexico. Full-size pickups have an average transaction price of about $65,000. So yeah, so 3 to 7. I guess was the amount that they're looking at.
3,000, I think a lot of people can stomach. They won't like it, but they can stomach that. But 7,000, like, that's going to be a breaking point for a lot of people.
Yep.
It's like it will be. It's like, wait a minute, how much is my leasing cost per month, or my bank loan cost, or my finance, whoever I go through? What is that going to increase by? 3,000. Okay, you can handle that. And I don't know if you've noticed, but remember the subprime mortgage issue they had in the United States that crashed the global economy in 2008? The same thing is happening with motor vehicles in the United States. And it has been for a number of years, where they have 10-year loan programs. Look at how low your monthly payment is. 10 years? 10 years for, oh, no.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the futures here. Yesterday it saved the stock market a little bit, but the Dow futures are showing down 368 points, S&P down 66 points, and NASDAQ down 309 points. So it looks like it might potentially be another down day despite this. So, but the point is that 3 bad days on the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump was ready to make an exception for auto.
Because his puppet masters, who aren't Vladimir Putin, We're going, hey, whoa, bro.
You're effing with our money. Number one rule in Republican politics, don't F with our money.
Once that happens, the power brokers get really pissed.
So apparently there are more talks going on. Apparently there are going to be, or apparently there's a chance that there will be a lot more exceptions, especially as these start to hit and people are losing jobs and whatnot. So in the battle of who can administer the most pain, that's the United States. But when you get somebody's hackles up in the battle of who can take the most pain between us and the president, we're able to take more pain. So it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of days how much more backtracking there's going to be on these tariffs. But I assume that this is not over yet. Now he's going to spin everyone as a win. He's going to say, I got something in exchange, right? He had that whole fantasy retelling of his conversation with the prime minister, where he finished with, like, he couldn't even tell me when the next election is going to be, but everything before that too was some pretty fantasy stuff. It's like, again, I'm reading it. It's like in the history of things that didn't happen, this did not happen the most. It's like, there's no way the prime minister had this particular, there's no way that the conversation with the prime minister of Canada went down in the way you are describing it in that truth thing that you put out. And only the most gullible, or not even the most gullible, the Canadians that would most want to believe, most willing to ignore the evidence of their eyes and ears because they just can't understand Trudeau so much. That's about the only people that might still be with you on that one. Because, yeah, nobody believes that happened that way, sir. So, all right. Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We love it when you do. Now, if you would like to make sure that you do not miss an episode, particularly of our audio cast, well, then you just need to scan that QR code that has appeared thanks to the Ray Girl who sponsors our pod page. And if you're listening, it's podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. When you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, boom, it comes directly to you. And I see the little eye thing, and it seems that we're back to our usual numbers that we had before because we're on more platforms again, which is nice. So hello to the 2019 people currently looking on those various platforms. I think that might be the first time I've seen that number over 2,000 as well. So thank you for finding us again. We're glad that you're back with us, and good morning to you. If you would like to help us in other ways, well, then you need to make like Kits, Elaine, and Cassie and surf yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated page, where we have recently crossed 13,000 and 500,000 views. Gee, 500,000 times people actually wanted to click and hear what we had to say. Thank you. So go on there and give us a little click on our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Makes us happy when you do, and it also helps us with the algorithm, which is very important. Now, if you would like to help us in yet another way, because we do incur some financial costs to bring the show to you, and if you would like to encourage your favorite beaver and grizzly to do more of this quality program that you so love and enjoy, well, worry not. We have a way for you to do it. It's called the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund. Really, it's just our tip jar. But you can find it at our coffee page. That QR code that's by Mr. Grizzly's head will bring you right to it. Or you go to coffee, spelled ko-fi.com/Eager Beaver, all in one word. And you will see a little way to contribute there. Every donation is absolutely appreciated. Thank you so very much for all that you do when you do donate to us. And we'd like to give a little shout out to Kit, I believe, Kit T. Wigmore, who, this is funny. It's not the correct one that's appearing, but I know that Kit T. Wigmore sent us a little something the other day. There it is. I found it with a message. Loved Rosalind. Always enjoy your explanations of news and views. Stay calm and carry on. thank you so much, good sir. We really appreciate the support. And I believe we got a word of support from someone. Oh, yes, also from T. Wigmore the other day saying, "You are so accessible, relatable, transparent, honest, and I could go on and on. You work well with and play off each other so well. Love your shows. I learn a lot, get challenged, sometimes affirmed in views I espouse, but always come away from listening enriched as a human being. Rock on, all the best." Hey, you got to love that kind of love. And there was someone else the other day that put us on the whole list, like with the Trillium and a whole bunch of like publications that we respect, and saying, if you want to get 100% Canadian news, here are your sources, listed us there. And it's like, wow, just to be mentioned in the same breath as all of them is already a high honor. So for the people who think of us that way, again, we are not journalists, but for people who do think of us that way as a reliable source of information analysis, thank you. That's a very high compliment. We really love it. So thank you. So that's our coffee page if you want to donate through there. And if you want to donate directly, 100% Canadian style, not going through PayPal or any of the CEO bros, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. You can just send us a transfer there. That's also the address, however, where you can send us something if you wanted to let us know what you think. Because if you're not able to make a contribution, we don't want you to worry about that, because you make other contributions through your participation and your presence. You have many listening choices, and you spend time with us, so we appreciate that. Let us know what you think, because it's your show too. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, or at trueeager at Blue Sky, or at the Bad Place on the Twitter, or at True North Eager Beaver at Facebook, which is our original home. Or if you're listening right here on YouTube, right down in here in the comment section, let us know what you think. And if you've got suggestions for the show, we welcome those too. We try to read everything. We're not able to respond to everybody, but we do read everything, and everything makes the show better. So thank you very much. Because democracy is something that you do, we have provincial by-elections in Manitoba coming up. So find out what's going on there. We might have a federal one in Nova Scotia if there's not a federal election called. That would be for April 14th to replace the seat that Mayor Fillmore of Halifax vacated in order to run for that position. And of course, there's the Quebec Liberal leadership race, and voting is underway in the federal Liberal leadership race, with results to be announced in 3 days. We will find out who the new leader of the party is. All right. Oh, and also, call Doug Ford, but in reasonable hours.
during office hours.
Yes,
during office hours.
During office hours. Yes. Or even early evening.
Well, no,
but not in the middle of
unless
the night.
it's a legitimate emergency. Just call them during office hours.
Yes. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Well, I don't know if they're words of wisdom, really. I just wanted to share this with a recent political cartoon. A gentleman watching Donald Trump on his computer, it looks like, and Trump saying, "I hereby declare that our official language is now hate speech." And the gentleman responds with pendejo. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, pendejo means asshole. And Trump has, in the image, he has a KKK hood pinned to his lapel. He's got the universal no signs for, like the no smoking sign, the red circle with the line through it. But he's got them for LGBTQ, woke, and immigrants. And he's wearing an American flag pin, which is inverted, which means the country is in distress. So no, I don't really have words of wisdom today, but I just thought I would share that with you. And I do have a really, really good Easter egg to share with you when we come back from the other side.
Okay, excellent. All right. Then let's do that. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the gog. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
So this Easter egg I'm going to show you is reminiscent of something from 25 years ago. This was done just, I think yesterday or the day before it was released. I don't know when it was recorded, but it was recorded very recently. I think you'll all remember the original. Here's the new one.
Hey, I know it's in our nature to cut a guy some slack, give him the benefit of the doubt, like maybe he was confused or just joking or just maybe really needed a double-double. But this isn't that guy. These aren't those people, and those are not the Rockies. They make a lot of mistakes. They mistake our modesty for meekness, our kindness for consent, our nation for another star on their flag, and our love of a hot, cheesy poutine with their love of a hot, cheesy Putin. They think they can bully us, threaten us, and push us around. But they do not know us. That artificially drawn line they keep talking about, not artificial, and it's not on a map. It's right here. This is the land that Terry ran, the land that Gord sang about. This is the birthplace of peanut butter and ketchup chips and yoga pants. It is the land of universal health care and the bench clearing for all, of innovation and optimism and getting her done. This is the land of the peacekeeper and the Shawinigan handshake. Are we perfect? No, but we are not the 51st anything. We are the first to unite in a crisis, the first to build bridges, not walls, and the first to stand on guard for thee. My name is Jeff, and we are Canadian.
So that was Jeff Douglas. You may remember him from the Molson Canadian commercial from 1999, or was it 2000? I think it was 99, 2000. The I Am Canadian Molson Canadian commercial that became front page news across the country, and a lot of PR people who worked with breweries at the time were freaking out. How did they pull that off? I'm like, well, they appealed to people's patriotism and Canadianism, and that was something Jeff Douglas just did, and he knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Grizzly, do you have the Easter eggs I had?
Yeah, you just got to give me a minute to pull it back up. My computer was lagging and it almost crashed, so I had to shut a few things down. So just give me a minute here and I'll pull it back
No
up.
worries. There's a Twitter account called Jen the Feisty Librarian. I very, 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 very much recommend it. It seems that her husband does some graphics and decided to do two on their own. No relation to us, but I think it's Kit Jen here in our chat that led me to them and says, you got to see this. And it's like, wow, these could have been tailor-made for our show.
Well,
we're not
I
allowed
did,
to use them for our show, although I did mention that it does work very well with our branding.
Well,
but we were asked to share.
She says, made by my husband, Jeff, save and share. And I responded, I said, those fit perfectly with our brand. And I gave her a link to the YouTube channel. Elbows up, an angry beaver. Elbows up, an angry grizzly bear. Elbows up, folks.
How did they know? How did they know? All right. And this, I think, comes from Kit Uncover. It's a little, well, let's just put it this way. It speaks to my beaver heart. Mr. Grizzly.
Just a second while I pull it up. Yeah, just give me a sec here because the problem with it is it starts the second you load it, go and trick it.
Yes.
And here we go.
Beavers are petty little shits. In Russia, a while back, city planners tore down a beaver dam to make way for some construction. The beavers waited till the middle of the night and then cut down every tree in the area and ripped up all the shrubs. Follow a beaver long enough, and it'll hide a literal line of shit in your path to prevent you from getting closer. Beavers, like Canadians, some of the most vindictive sons of bitches you will ever meet. Case in point, 30 years ago, Coca-Cola pulled its bottling plant out of Newfoundland. To this day, Reddit is full of tourists saying, yo, what's with all the Pepsi here? More than a decade ago, Heinz up and closed its 100-year-old bottling plant with no notice. 750 workers left in the lurch. The French's company stepped in. To this day, Canadians buy French's, even though it's an American product. Don't believe me? Check the comments. Beavers, like Canadians, are pleasant, but we hold a grudge longer than a Twinkie survives the apocalypse. You might say we put the Riz in resistance. In America, you might do well to check your own history of battles with your northern neighbors. Exhibit A, the day we burned your White House to the ground. Hell, your own national anthem is about that. Bombs bursting in air, those are our bombs. The flag was still there, that's Francis Scott Key, stunned that an American flag still flew after we leveled Baltimore. We know your history better than you do, and that's the point. America has long reveled in the self-appointed title of leader of the free world. I always thought it rather enjoys watching the world catch a cold when it sneezes. And now it's pushing its weight around to apply tariffs to almost every country in the world. And how is the world responding? London, this weekend, European countries meeting with Canada to cut America's trade out of the loop. Mexican tariffs of European imports slashed. EU restrictions dropped, allowing more investment in Mexico. India and the EU without America. Apex nations without America. Trans-Pacific countries without America. And after this whole trade war is over, years from now, when Trump's not even in office, how will the world view America? Not with hatred, not even pity, but with the one thing America fears the most: irrelevance. This year in the Czech Republic, local authorities have been planning a big dam project for 7 years. Some local beavers moved in, built it in 2 days. Tariffs against Canada start tomorrow. Beavers, like Canadians, are petty as fuck. But we finished.
And don't forget the Canadian Cobra chicken. How a bald eagle got into a fight with it just the other day and realized the tenacious little bugger wasn't going to give up and didn't. And eventually the bald eagle said, I'm out of here, and flew away.
Remember, beavers are petty as fuck.
Alrighty.
He spoke to my heart. He spoke to my heart.
Oh, yeah.
Have a beaverific day, everyone.
We'll see you.